back to the Brave Social Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden, and today we have a special guest, Caroline. You guys have probably seen her on the podcast before, and oftentimes we connect on Instagram, so I'm sure you know who she is. But in case you don't, a little intro. Caroline is a social media strategist and educator who helps creatives and service-based business owners create consistent content they're proud of. She's known for making it simple, facts, teaching practical systems for showing up online without the overwhelm, even during the busiest seasons of life or while traveling. Her work is rooted in feel-good productivity and one core belief: your business should work around your life, not the other way around. Yes! So welcome, Caroline!
Thank you so much! Excited to chat.
Yeah, your bio is so accurate. So freaking accurate. This is exactly what Caroline does. She's so inspiring to follow. She's always traveling. She's always seriously living her best life. And then you see her content and it's fire. And it's just like, girl, how do you do it all? But she's going to tell us how to do it all, basically.
Well, my secrets are coming out today.
Yeah, buckle up because they're coming out. Today we're going to talk about having a life first and your content coming second, and how to stay consistent without going insane. So let's just get into it. One of the things you talk about is creating content people are proud of. So what does that actually mean? And why do you think so many people are posting content that they're low-key not proud of?
Yes, I feel like everyone aspires to have the kind of content that they love and that's beautiful and that really comes across as eloquent, of course, right? We want to represent ourselves well. But I think being proud of your content does not mean it needs to be a cinematic masterpiece. I do have and we have some friends that are just incredible video editors. That works for them. That does not work for everyone in terms of time, maybe even our personal style. So my definition of content that you're proud of is essentially content that you're excited to share. So essentially content you could text to a friend and you're not absolutely embarrassed to send it to them. I feel like that's a good baseline. And maybe it's fun for you to create. Maybe it's fun for you to share. But I do feel like most people are in survival mode. So they feel behind. They are trying to catch up. They are creating a lot of posts just to kind of check the box. And that I wouldn't really define as content you're proud of, because whenever you do show up in a way that feels aligned, you're speaking to your audience, it's a part of your strategy, that comes across even more authentic, and also drives saves and shares, because people really do feel that and notice the difference when it's coming from a place of groundedness versus kind of scramble. So overall, even it's strategically wise to post content that you're proud of. And we'll talk about ways so you're not in survival mode, but it's hard to go from I don't have anything to post, I need to post, to being in a really good flow and having a system that works for you and busy lives. But
that's so real. And it made me think how many times I scroll and look at other people's content and I'm like, oh my God, that reel is insane. That's beautiful. That is so good. And I loved what you said about does it even match your life? Mm-hmm. And I kind of have two perspectives on this, but my first one is oh, that doesn't match my life. That was kind of the first thought I had was I'm really not an extra person. I have this same shirt in 5 colors. I have the same tank top in 5 colors. I wouldn't consider myself a minimalist, but I really am not extra. And so creating content that's like that feels really unnatural to me because literally just because of that. And the really beautiful scrapbook carousels and stuff like that. My friend Cass, who is so good at stuff like that. And I always look at it and I'm I wish I could do that, but it is unnatural to me. So that I think makes so much sense why I feel that way, is because it's it doesn't really match my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And then the other perspective I have on that is that that's an opportunity. If you really like that content, to outsource it. That's the kind of stuff they could outsource the editing. They could outsource, you could outsource parts of it so that you can still do it if you're excited about it, but it's just not your natural cup of tea.
Definitely. And I will also mention all of my talking videos I outsource. There's no way I'm spending the time doing that or even know how to do that. So yeah, credit where credit is due. That is a great thing to outsource because I do love the fast paced, different examples. I love that style, but personally, I do pair it with simple just because I can do that. That's sustainable for me. And also, I mean, what we're seeing is a lot of that resonates with certain audience members of just simple, bingeable, savable, shareable. So if it is a longer talking video, which is great, sometimes that depth needs to happen. Not everyone watches all of that. So like just knowing your audience and being able to have diversity within your account too, with whatever feels natural for you. But I know for your account, like whenever I think of your account, I think of like, no BS. We're going to talk about the issues we need to talk about and we're going to be straightforward about it. And I love that, and that's like not everyone's style or not everyone's format, but I feel like that's just as bingeable to me as one of those really highly curated, beautiful, reels because it's all to you. And I know that. And those always like pack a punch in terms of like messaging. So I feel like everyone does have their maybe skill set or what's authentic to them and leaning into that. But like you said, if you're excited and love another style, that can be doable and you can lean into that as a creator.
Yeah. I think it's just knowing like what feels natural to you. And then when things aren't coming naturally, like that's an opportunity to outsource. And I think that is true for like, not to get so sidetracked, but that's just true for like a lot of things in business. It's like I hire a bookkeeper because like that is so unnatural to me. Like I cannot do that. Like I can't, and so I think it applies across your whole business, but then especially to your content. Another thing you say a lot is like life first business, which I'm obsessed with. That's a phrase that you use a lot. And I'm just curious, what does that look like when you're creating content for yourself and your clients? Do you batch? How do you make it so it doesn't take so long? Like, or do you just let it take so long? Like, what do you plan for?
Yes. Okay. I love this question. And for anyone listening who's like, what really is life first business? Really, this is a business that supports your life. So your energy, your schedule, your hobbies, your priorities, and not the other way around. And I think a lot of times we come into business thinking, yay, work for myself, working my schedule, and then working 24/7, which is just real. And that's a reality for a lot of people. But by prioritizing life first, you're putting into your calendar things that mean the most to you and things that bring you life. Like for me right now, dance classes, I just got a membership. So fun. Travel experiences. So setting those as non-negotiables first in your calendar and building my work and content around them. That is my definition of kind of life first in terms of business and content. So in terms of batching, which I highly, highly recommend if you want to take your content seriously, if you're a creator, just being able to have a system that works for you. So I like to keep it simple. And this is my exact system for my content so that I'm able to prioritize those non-negotiable fun things. Every single month, probably near the end of the month. So I'm about to do it for April. I have a 1-hour planning session. So this is just 1 hour where I go through my notes app. I've saved so many ideas. Maybe I want to start a series. I just go through that, plan it on my calendar. So that is my 1-hour planning session. So all the ideas are in. And I think it's great to have those set ideas, but also leave room for flexibility. So if my posting schedule is 4 posts per week, I'm mapping out the ideas. If there are fun trends I want to hop on, things like that, it's so doable and we can pop those in. But I have a strategy, I have a plan, things that are moving the needle in my business. So after that, I do a 1 to 2 hour scripting session. So this is any scripts, this is the writing the copy, anything like that, that is included there. And then I have a 1 hour film day. And this is basically, and I love doing this, I try to book a studio for 1 hour and I come with my scripts. So it's really just getting the B-roll and filming the scripts. And that's it. Simple. I came with a plan. And then my team handles most of the edits. If it's super simple, I'll do it myself. Otherwise, they handle it. So we're looking at 3 to 4 hours to be able to map it out, script it out, film, and then someone else can do the editing. So that is my flow that has worked really well for my travels when life gets crazy. And I don't know if you've heard of like Cal Newport's Deep Work book, but it talks about how...
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I think I've seen it on your story.
Okay, I know. I'm always talking about my favorite books, but this is one of them, and it's about deep work. And basically it's talking about how context switching, so switching tasks, you lose
Oh my
so much
God.
when you are doing a task. You lose
You
just so
can't.
much productivity. So by creating content in these like designated blocks, doing multiple posts at once for filming, multiple planning, like having those blocks for that, you're not switching between tasks all the time. That's really, really great for your brain. And also not starting from zero every single day with, okay, what am I going to post? The idea, I'm going to script it, I'm going to write it, I'm going to film it. Those are all those different tasks that you've already done in those batches. So I'm such a strong believer in that. I
Yeah.
love batching, and it's like backed by neuroscience. So
Yeah,
that is
that
my
is,
system.
I love the backed by neuroscience. And that's so true. Like, I batch slightly differently, and my dream would be to batch like you, but for some reason I haven't quite figured that out in my own process yet. But like I skeleton my ideas, so I have an idea that I'm going to dive into that day when I go to create my content.
Yeah.
And for me, like that may take me an hour, it might take me 30 minutes, it might take me an hour and a half, but like one thing that I've kind of started to bring more into my content is flexibility. But
Yeah.
I will say, like, it's so different for every business and where you're at. Like, I'm at a place in my business where I can post twice a week and still be getting consistent leads. But that's not true for every business. And it's not true for every phase of business, like, depending on what you're doing, if you're launching, if you're evergreen, whatever. So I understand that too. But I've kind of leaned a little bit into that part of, I guess you could, like, it's still kind of batching because I have like ideas. I'm not starting from zero, but I also don't like force myself to post it if I don't love it. Like if I get to that day and I'm like, and I dive in, and sometimes I even get to the point where I'm like writing it into a carousel and then I'm like, I actually don't like this. Like I don't feel connected to this anymore, then I won't post it. But like I said, it kind of depends on where you're at in your business, what your goals are.
Your brain works too. Like I know, I mean, Shannon McCrinsky is such a big person in the social media space, and her whole thing is blocking out like 10 to 11 every day to create. And like, you know, she might be starting from zero, but she's in such a good routine that works for her. She wants it incredibly timely, maybe a trend. So that works so well for her business.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and I mean, there's another big creator on TikTok, Mafe. She creates so many TikToks. So this would not work for her. She has like multiple film days per week. So it's like, it just depends on what your business goals are, because hers are brand deals. Hers are posting 3+ times a day on TikTok.
Yeah.
So it really does depend on your brain, your business, your goals.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of what works for me and how can I sustainably maintain that same schedule, no matter if life gets busy, no matter if workload's crazy. So for you, that it sounds like a great system where you know you have that hour, you know, to be able to do that. Some people might not have that luxury. So just figuring out what week after week could be maintained.
For you. Yeah. And I think like one thing people do too is like they'll try one thing, like they'll try batching a month in advance and they're like, oh, I didn't like that. Or like, I can't do that. Like, I think you have to kind of try different things to see what is the most sustainable for you, which is so like, I have empathy for you if you're in that space of like trying to find what works for you, because it's kind of hard and you can feel like you're failing and you can feel like, oh, I missed a week. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like you can get so in your head, but it is a process of just learning like what suits your lifestyle. Period. That's what we're talking about. And that's maintainable for you. Like maybe you don't travel as much, so it makes more sense to like do it kind of a similar way to how I do it. Or maybe you are like a digital nomad. Like you're going to have to do something more like what Caroline's doing. So
there's different seasons too. So like when I'm in my best flow, it's what I just described, where it's like a month. However, many weeks, what's worked really well is I did all of the steps that I mentioned, but in terms of editing, if I'm doing it, I'll do it on Fridays for the next week. So then every single week, you know, sure, nothing's like created, but I do that over Friday, maybe the weekend for just 1 week. But the ideas are there. I filmed, everything's ready. I just need to edit. So I think it does depend also the season. It can fluctuate per person too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which kind of brings me to another question I had for you, which is about being ADHD. So you say like you work with ADHD friendly workflows. How does that change the systems you build compared to what most social media advice looks like? We've kind of touched on this, but I'm curious how you support that
Yeah.
squirrel brain.
Yes, definitely. And if you talk to my husband, literally we'll be talking about one thing, the other thing, the next thing. Oh my gosh, it's all over the place. But it's great. And truly, I think, because I work with a lot of business owners who also have, ADHD tendencies, squirrel brains, whatever we want to call it, which is great. And I feel like it's a superpower because you're able to do a lot of different things. You're able to like spin a lot of plates, and just like it looks different for everyone. But in terms of like systems, I think most of the time advice that you'll see online is like sit down, open your doc, finish all your work, execute the full task at hand. And like if your brain works that way where you can sit down and do like one task, that is amazing. Genuinely, that is fantastic. But
yeah.
I don't know if you could even see it, like literally all these notepads. I have a lot of sticky notes everywhere, and it's just because there's a lot of different things going on. However, what I feel like having ADHD kind of means is that activation energy is a barrier. It's hard to start sometimes. Tasks can feel extremely overwhelming. But essentially, when you do have ADHD, having that activation energy is a real barrier. So you can want to do something so badly. You can have a full plan mapped out, exactly what you need to do, and you just won't do it. And so that's kind of the system that I wanted to go against, is how can I make a system that's more friendly for this barrier that we have, that it's hard to begin or it feels incredibly overwhelming. So ways to kind of combat that is having a repeatable system. And that sounds very basic, but what this can mean is a lot of different things. So for content, having pre-decided topics, that makes content planning, when I do sit down to plan, so much easier. And by pre-decided topics, what are your content themes? What are your content pillars? Things like that. Makes that so much easier. So you're not starting like from zero with your brain. Also repeatable formats. I know I like talking videos, B-roll, certain type of carousels. That makes it so much easier when I'm planning. So having these repeatable formats, very clear next steps. I know my batching system, 1 hour planning, 1 hour scripting, 1 hour filming. That to me is removing decision fatigue, which is also a large barrier to doing something. The same definitely goes with our social media management clients. So we have a very rigid routine. The clients know it. We know it. We have our monthly questionnaire. We have content due by this date. We have our meeting by this date. We have content deliverables by this date. And when everyone is on the same page for that, there's no decisions to be made. It is just, that is what we are doing. So,
oh my gosh,
some good brain friendly kind of just systems of just removing decision fatigue, honestly, is half of it.
It really is so much of it. And like this kind of going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, where like that applies to your whole business. Like, and it was something that I had to learn, and I'm still learning in my business, but that's why I don't have 12 offers. Like I essentially have 2 offers and that's it, because the decision fatigue for clients,
right?
Like you're already owning a business and doing all this work. Like you are already overwhelmed. Like why would I make it harder by being like, figure out which package is the one you need? You know, It's like, I know this works. This is the one you should do. And I also think it's true, like in internal business systems, like what you're talking about, even where it's like our calls are this date, our content is due this date, like being very strategic with stuff like that and not leaving it up to like, I don't know, we'll get to that when we get to that or whatever. Like it makes it so much harder for you, your team, your client, like all of any place where you're wishy-washy is creating that like gap for decision fatigue or anything like that.
People come to you for your expertise. So when you are confident in your offers, you know what does work. It's simple. You have your system. That honestly gives a lot of relief to people who do come to you for services, because they are looking for an expert and for you to take the reins. That's why they're giving it to you, in the first place of whatever it may be. So I just feel like, being confident in that and just being like, hey, we've got a plan. Everyone wins.
Yeah. And like with your content too, having the stability within your content, no matter what niche you are, like people don't have the bandwidth to like look at your page and figure out if you have it together. But there's a feeling and there's a vibe that comes across when you are solid. When they can go to your page, they're not going to know it on like a super conscious level, but on an unconscious level, like they can see, do you have a plan? Like, are you going to coach me to do what I think you are? Or are you going to do this service for me in the way that I think you are? So I just think that applies to so much in all of our businesses. And I know it's changed a lot for me too, helping me have even the boundaries with myself to not be like, oh, I'm going to quote this like custom project that I know I'm going to have to create a whole new system for, babysit the client on, like, you know, all of that stuff is just so draining and makes everything harder, including content.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think we're talking about niching, but in a different way. Okay, I freaking love that. Another question, okay, we have for you is, okay, batching content is something a lot of people try and abandon. Where do you think most people are going wrong? We kind of touched on this, but where are they going wrong?
Yeah. Definitely can think of many ways because I've experienced every single one. One is not going in with a solid plan. Definitely when you are batching content, we do need to come in with a game plan instead of just sitting down on our computer saying it's batch time, because that is so overwhelming. There's so many, things that you could be doing. So going in without a plan. Another one, and I think this is the main one that I have dealt with and a lot of our clients, is they try to do way too much. They're like, I'm going to do a whole month. And this is their first time ever batching. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. And then the other one is batching to catch up instead of getting ahead. So if you are
big difference.
Yeah, big difference. And if you're coming at it from a place of that survival mode, like we talked about, batching is going to literally feel like a factory shift. Like you are not going to enjoy yourself. It's going to be overwhelming. It's an exhausting, really pressured filled session if you're sitting down and trying to do everything. And of course, after all that, you're never going to want to do it again. So I would say those are some easy traps when you do batch that you can fall into to make the experience really not enjoyable for yourself. So the fix, really simple, really, really simple. We're going to go in with a plan. So let's say it's your film day and you booked 1 hour and you want it to be efficient. Before that hour starts, we do need to create our scripts. We do need to know what are we doing in this hour, because if you paid for that studio, we're going to make the most of it. So go in with, instead of a month's worth of content, let's do 2 videos. Do 2 scripts. Go in, and if you have extra time, what a breath of fresh air. That's great. You can do extra B-roll in that time. You can take some photos. That'll be great for stories, covers, done. So I think making it the barrier to entry way lower and set our expectations lower for this first time. You're trying this for the first few times. So I would say that would be the best way to approach it. So if you think you can do 10 pieces of content, do 2. And then you can do more when you're there. So that will help you want to batch again.
I do think we just like, I can't remember. There's kind of a some guy said this one thing, which is really helpful for all of you. But it was like, we think that we can get way more done in a year than we can, but we can actually do way more like in a day than you think you can. Like it was like that perspective shift. And I think it's true with your content. Like you can think you can get 10 things batched and you can't. So set the expectation for what you can achieve. And I think this does so much more than just helps you do content consistently, but like it helps you trust yourself that you can actually do it. Because when you go into things with wild, and I'm not saying like don't have big goals, have big goals, but like when you go into things thinking you can do it all and you don't, then you feel bad about yourself.
You have to build trust with yourself.
Like if you cut that in half and you actually were able to achieve the thing that you wanted to achieve, even if it was half of it, but that was your goal, you're going to feel so much better about yourself, and it's going to be easier to maintain that than when you're like, I don't know, I can create 3 months of content at one time. Like, you just can't. So don't try.
Right.
Because you're going to fail. Like, you are going to fail, you know?
Right. Baby steps, build that trust with yourself. And that makes it so much more exciting instead of, having this giant batch day, not doing half of it, getting defeated, never doing it. And it's not a great cycle. So baby steps, little wins, reach for the stars. Absolutely. But, like one of my goals was to post 3 times a day on TikTok. Have we started? No. And I know why. I've set a way insane goal. I'm not even posting once a day on TikTok.
Maybe let's start with once a day. And then we could get
start there. So need to take my own advice. I've just given up on TikTok entirely. But that's just a good way to show, like, I had really big goals, reached for the stars, didn't even start because it was way too overwhelming. And I didn't even have a threshold of what I was capable of on TikTok. So
Yep, 100%. Just, you have to build the trust with yourself, or else you're never going to get anywhere. No. Okay, curious about your digital nomad life. So I know we've learned about your process and how you kind of do that. Is that something you take with you while you're traveling, or how can things shift when you are like out and about, not just like next to a studio? You're in, I don't know, a different country.
Yes. So for the past 2 years, we have been living out of Airbnbs, which is so fun. Visited 46 different countries and counting. So it's been
crazy,
so exciting. However, when we are living in different Airbnbs, I'm really just at the mercy of how's the lighting in that Airbnb? Is the Wi-Fi okay? I'm not sure. So definitely I try to maintain that same schedule of 1 hour of monthly planning, 1 or 2 hours of scripting and copy, 1 hour filming. Either my team edits, or on Friday, I'll edit the next week. That is ideal. That's what works well for my brain. However, sometimes for a faster paced trip, a crazier week, things like that, we do need to kind of switch into quote unquote travel mode, which is maybe a not as frequent posting schedule. Maybe I show up more on stories and show the day to day, but I don't have posts prepared. Maybe I post 2 times a week, 3 times a week. It kind of depends on that season, but there is a more toned down travel mode. But during this time, what a fantastic time to build your B-roll bank. So I love to kind of build my library and my iPhone of just different shots that when I'm traveling. So walking, when I was in Bali on a moped, walking, typing on my computer. Those are just great shots to have as a collection for, who knows, whatever you may use it for, a voiceover, little, snippets in a talking video, or just as the 7-second clip for a good hook. So having that built in is part of my kind of travel routine too, just to have on hand. But I think being gentle and flexible whenever you are traveling and kind of having that backup plan is great. Also having some backup posts planned. So for me, that's repurposing. So I may go months back, what performed well, how can I revamp it? And that is such a lift when I am traveling. So those are some ways that I can be in kind of my travel mode.
Yeah. And I noticed too, you have some pretty, this kind of goes back to your content pillars you're talking about, but you have some standard content that you post every month that people are obsessed with, like your content, your monthly content ideas, monthly trends, stuff like that. So I'm sure that kind of content is more it's just that I guess cornerstone content where you know you're always going to post that really no matter where you're at and what you're doing. So
very repeatable. People are looking forward to it for their content plans. So I feel like that is super helpful. And for people listening, having your quote unquote signature series helps kind of remove the decisions of what am I going to post by kind of having that ready and on hand. And it's something you could before a trip completely batch and create and just kind of trickle out so you can enjoy your trip and stay consistent.
Okay, this is a side note, but I am curious about signature series content, how you approach that for yourself and clients, and what you do. I guess I would say how do you know something's going to be a good signature series, and how do you navigate times where the signature series maybe is taking a lull or it's not working anymore? I would love to know how you navigate that, because it's something that we navigate with clients all the time ourselves. And I'm just curious, what's your experience with that?
Yeah. I think it can go one of two ways. One is it's going to be a good series because it's proven in past content. So, for example, my monthly content ideas, I had done things similar, and that's why I've started even the new series of bi-weekly trends, because the content ideas did so well, and it leads to my weekly calendar, which is a lot of similar concepts, but even more bulked out. So I knew those had kind of done well, so that's why the new series came from something that already worked. So I'd say, if you are noticing commonly asked questions in clients' comment sections, in the DMs, certain themes in the feed that are consistently showing that maybe they're getting a little more traction, that is great data and information to build a signature series from. So I would say one is from existing proof, and then the other one would be kind of a new series. And I think there's a few ways to do this. One, I love to have a few series ideas for clients that we post not a series, as just posts.
And so I love that. Yeah.
We're just going to test the waters. And if it doesn't perform, it's not enough data to say, no, this wouldn't be a good series from one or two posts. So it kind of needs to be a few posts to see the themes. Then if one really resonates, one feels good, then that can be turned into a series. So that's one way that I really like to, no pressure, kind of see it through, because we're testing fun ideas that are aligned anyway, and then we can build from there. Or we just full send it. We're like, this is a good idea. We love it. Let's just do it.
I've totally had that. Yeah. I feel like that's I feel like what happens more commonly, but I love the thought of looking at past patterns and turning that into a series.
Right. And that takes, some deep diving for sure. And sometimes you do just have a really catchy name and you just love it and full send. And I love that. But yeah, there's just different ways to do it. And sometimes with the full send, it is informed by their content themes, what has worked for them in the past, what they're genuinely excited to share. And that really comes through the screen. So I feel like it kind of is dependent on the account and what's been working. But those are the different ways that we have started signature series that have been really fun.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for answering that. Side note question. Okay. Ooh, love this one. So you hosted a Stand Store event this spring, and you talked about the 12-week year framework. So I'm just curious, how do you apply that to your content, or is that more just a life situation, goals for your life, or is that goals for your content? And what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So first, credit where credit's due. The book is by Brian Moran, I believe it is, but the 12-week year changed my life. And essentially, it's breaking down. I use it for business and life goals primarily. So launches, revenue targets, projects. However, it's 12 weeks of breaking down a maximum of 3 goals instead of setting your annual goals and throughout the year kind of losing track. So when it comes to content is one of the levers that drives those goals. Mm-hmm. So it does show up in my 12-week year. And I actually, March 30th is going to end my first 12-week year round, and content was one of them. So I had a goal of solidifying my workflows and producing 4 posts per week, because I know that supports my visibility, my growth, my lead flows. And so that was one of my goals. And so I created, just kind of fine-tuned a system that I wanted to be more consistent with. Yeah. So yes, content is definitely part of it. It's one of the main drivers for the sales and stuff, but it also is really great for those bigger goals. So for example, launching a product, kind of starting from the very start to finish of launch for something is a great 12-week goal too.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. Yeah. So interesting. And I hope you share how that went for you at the end and your goal progress. That's some of my favorite content ever these days, is seeing people's goals and where they're at with them, because
definitely,
I don't know, it's just so interesting. And it's just interesting. And it's so plays on that voyeuristic. That's like not the word, but like, do you know what I mean? It's like I want to know like what is going on in your life, like on a deeper level. Yeah.
No, it's so fair.
So I've been loving that type of content. I hope we get to see that from you.
Okay. I'll work
that better be a carousel. I'm just kidding. Okay. I'm curious what's something people think that they need to be consistent online with that they actually don't. Like, what are they freaking out about that doesn't matter?
Yeah. I think what I've seen the most is people freaking out about social media strategy before they start. So needing the perfect strategy, need to have the niche, the perfect content pillars, the full content plan mapped out before we can even start. And so they'll spend so much time planning and never executing.
That's so real.
It's so real. And I mean, same with like a business. So many incredible creative people I know have been like, I'm going to start a business. They have ideas and just don't pull the trigger. I get it. It's daunting. It's overwhelming, but this is a trap. This is, I think a lot of people feel like trap. They need to have this perfect social media strategy before they begin. Is it helpful? Is it great to have that blueprint and guideline? Yes. However, it's not necessary, and start messy. I mean, that would prefer that than posting stuff that's just, you're just not posting stuff because you just
like, yeah. And when you like trap yourself, like the reason we stopped really focusing as much on content pillars and rather I guess I call them content themes because they're the same for every client. They just end up being different based on what your business is. But the reason we switched that was because people were so like boxed in by like, is this my content pillar? And it's like,
right.
I don't know. It might not perfectly align with that, but it's good content that you should post, And I think it's depending on who you are as a person for sure. But like having a strategy is very helpful. And like, I come across clients of ours that I'm like, like potential clients that I'm like, you need a strategy. You're a little bit not hitting the mark because you don't have a strategy. Yeah. But at the same time, if it's holding you back from posting, like that's not helpful at all because every single post is data and you need to allow yourself to just try. Like, and the truth is social media does change very frequently. Not that your content pillars have to change, not that your strategy has to change a lot, but because of that, people can be unwilling to try something new. And it's like, you're always going to have to try something new. Right. Sorry to break it to you.
Yeah. No. And I mean, this is literally coming from a social media strategist of like, this is what's blocking people. And the strategy does get clearer. The more you post, the more you actually show up, the more data you get, like you said, not the more you plan and think about it. That is just how this works.
You're thinking too much. You are thinking too much.
Take some action. So yes, strategy is important. We want to be having our North Star goal. We want to be having our content themes. What are we known for? I mean, that's huge for building trust. But if that is stopping you from posting at all or getting kind of the momentum, then that's a problem. And I do really believe that when you get into the kind of flow, more ideas come to you and more hot takes come to you and more authority pieces. So like it builds on each other versus just in the planning stage. Like really we need to be hitting post. We do.
Yeah. Agree so much. And like so much of your business and your content develops because you tried stuff. Like I can't even tell you how different my content was 3 years ago. Like so different. And just, I would never post that now. But at the time I was like, this slays. Like you just evolve over time and it's not as big of a deal as you think it is. It's just really not at all. Yeah. So agree so much. Okay. I'm curious about your weekly content calendar, who it's for, why you're obsessed with it. We'll link it in case anyone wants to get it. But I'm just curious, what's all that about?
Yes. So the weekly content calendar is for the person who keeps saying, I need to get more consistent. I need to post more consistently, but doesn't. So this is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's that barrier to entry. Maybe, we just need a little push. So I built this calendar because I kept seeing the same thing. People maybe have a lot of ideas, big plans, but then they're not just actually executing them. So this is the accountability partner that shows up in your inbox every single Friday with a tailor-made plan that I created myself. So it follows the buyer's journey. So every single day, Monday through Friday, give you ideas on what you can post. And I give lots of niche examples. So if you're a travel advisor, I give examples. If you're a coach, a nutritionist in fitness, so you know exactly how to take the prompt, which could be a trend, could be an evergreen concept, which is just a proven hook, whatever it may be. Also provide Canva templates so that there is literally low barrier to entry, just plug and play. I want you to get posting in that routine. So this is kind of your accountability partner, something to make it easier. But I'm obsessed with what it does with people's relationships with content. It builds confidence. It builds momentum. You get more clients because you have that visibility, and it just increases that output. So opportunities come to you. So it's just the tool, the agency in your pocket, where you can build that momentum, and I'm right there alongside you. And we also do occasional batch days together where we'll go and we'll create the content live together. So if you have any questions on how to tailor it to your niche, I got you.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Incredible. We're going to link that for you guys. So if you're feeling like you are stuck, you can jump on that and have Caroline's support to help you get more consistent. And we just have one final question for you. And that is, what's one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self? This could be about business. It could just be about life, like how you approach things. I'm just curious.
Ooh, this one's a good one. And I struggle with what to say because I think I wish I could have told myself a lot of things. But I think the main thing is, if the current workflow, how things are working, is not working or feeling good, or just kind of looking ahead, would this feel good a year from now? It's not the one. If I don't see myself doing the current workflow that I'm doing a year from now, it's not the one. And I think at the beginning of my business, I just had things all over the place. Things did not feel easy. And I kind of just kept going, just feeling like this hustle is what it is. But needing to know, if this is not having a lot of longevity or sustainability, this is not going to work for me. So I did have burnout in the beginning of my business because it's just not sustainable the way I was doing things. So I think a lot of people, including myself, built their businesses around intensity, going hard, trying to see results and doing the best we can. And like, just clients are everything, which is so true, but not at the expense of life. And I think that's really what shifted, is this life first mentality of that's the priority. And I want to have a very purpose-filled business. And I can't give my all to my clients if I am drained and burnt out and want to crawl into a hole and just be in bed all day. Like, not a good place to be. Like, I can serve my clients so much better when I'm energized and when I do fill my own cup first. So I think that would be the biggest thing I would want to tell myself.
No, I love that so much. I think so many people, and to a degree, I think a little bit of burnout is unavoidable just because like it shows you where you're not, like where it's not sustainable, like literally exactly what you said. So I think to a degree, I wish it was perfectly unavoidable. Maybe somewhere out there's like, no, it is. I don't know. But I'm like, I think sometimes you kind of have to, like, early in business, you're finding your edges, and like, it's so interesting because some people just do have more energy than other people. Like, some people can run a business this way and maybe you can't, and that's okay. Like, it's just a process of like figuring all of that out, and it's a journey. But yeah, I love what you said. Just, it's not going to be, if it's not sustainable, then you need to change it. If it is burning you out, you need to change it. Which can be a little scary, but you got this. You got this.
Exactly. Also, I read this book at the beginning of the year. I can't think of the author. We'll have to maybe tag it, but it's called The Plan. And essentially, it is one of the first productivity books written by a woman. And this just reminded me of it because we are built differently in our businesses. And every single book you read, and I love these authors of like, the 12-week year, the Great Leap, the one thing, but they're all written by men, and men are just built differently, where you can probably sit down and go hard and work for 12 hours. And this perspective shift of just what it means to be a woman, we do have cycles, we do have different energy levels, things like that, and how we can lean into that and be crazy productive, crazy successful. I just love that. So I want to drop that in there. I
want to read that one.
Yeah.
Learning from women about business is so important because the blueprint is a man's business plan, which literally I'm not a man hater at all, but like that just doesn't always work. Like that just doesn't work, all the time. Right. So 100% agree with that. We should link that book. We'll link that book for you guys. But yeah, I just appreciate you coming on the podcast today. You've been so helpful. Caroline is literally the productivity queen. Seriously, every time I see what you're up to, I'm just like, girl, you cracked the code somewhere. But you guys got to follow Caroline. We'll also link all of her stuff so you have that. But thank you so much.
Yay! Thanks, Jaden.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later. Bye.